Story number 1, The Silent Sharer. Moving into a new city for my first real job was exciting, but finding an affordable apartment solo was a nightmare. So, I took a chance on a Craigslist ad, a spacious 2-bedroom with a seemingly quiet roommate named Evelyn. The pictures showed a clean apartment, and Evelyn, through text messages, appeared friendly and professional. Perfect, I thought. The first red flag came on move-in day. The apartment was a mess. Discarded takeout boxes overflowed on the counter, clothes piled high on the worn furniture, and an unsettling silence hung heavy in the air. Evelyn, a wisp of a woman with dark circles under her eyes, barely spoke, simply pointing to my room and disappearing into hers. Things got weirder. Every morning, the fridge would be completely bare, yet by evening, it would be overflowing with obscure groceries, durian fruit, raw chicken hearts, and jars of something labeled in Cyrillic. The lights in Evelyn's room would flicker at odd hours, and sometimes, a low chanting would emanate from behind her closed door. It was like living with a ghost, not a roommate. One night, curiosity overwhelmed my fear. I tiptoed to Evelyn's door, the chanting louder than usual. Mustering my courage, I knocked. Silence. I pushed open the door a crack. The room was bathed in an eerie red light, emanating from a circle of candles on the floor. Evelyn knelt in the center, surrounded by strange symbols drawn on a white sheet. A book, filled with spidery script and unsettling illustrations, lay open on her lap. As I watched, she chanted something guttural, holding a small, carved figurine in her hand. Terror flooded me. I slammed the door shut, my heart hammering. Sleep was impossible that night. What had I gotten myself into? The next morning, I confronted Evelyn. What was that? Ritual? My voice shook. Evelyn looked up, startled, then gave a wan smile. Oh, that. Just a bit of cultural practice. You wouldn't understand. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. That day, I started looking for a new place. Living with a ghost might be creepy, but living with a potential cult member was downright terrifying. A week later, I found a new apartment. Leaving felt like escaping a bad dream. Months later, fueled by morbid curiosity, I Googled Evelyn's name. A local news headline sent chills down my spine. Missing woman. Authorities baffled by disappearance of local artist. The picture showed a pale, gaunt Evelyn, looking nothing like the tired woman I'd known. The story mentioned strange symbols found in her abandoned apartment and a mention of unusual religious practices. The case remained unsolved. To this day, I wonder, did my presence somehow interrupt her ritual? Was there something more sinister at play? One thing's for sure, Evelyn, the silent roommate, became my most unforgettable, and undeniably horrifying, living nightmare. Story number 2, The Borrower Who Became the Blur. Moving into a college dorm can be a gamble. My freshman year, I rolled the dice with a random roommate assignment, Sarah, a bubbly girl with an infectious laugh. At first, things were great. We shared stories, late-night snacks, and dreams for the future. But soon, a strange habit of Sarah's began to take root. It started subtly. A missing teacup here, a borrowed sweater there. Each time, Sarah would apologize profusely, promising to return them. But the items never came back. I chalked it up to forgetfulness, until it escalated. A favorite book vanished, then a pair of earrings, then half a bottle of my expensive perfume. Every time I confronted Sarah, her eyes would widen, her cheeks turning crimson. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I must have misplaced it, but I'll definitely get it back to you. But the apologies rang hollow. The real fear began when the borrowed items started showing up in strange places. One morning, I found my missing earrings tangled in the shower drain. Another day, my favorite book materialized under my bed, its pages damp and crumpled. The borrowed items returned, but always in a way that felt wrong. It was as if they were trying to get back to me, but couldn't quite manage it. The scariest part? Sarah didn't seem to notice. She lived in a constant state of blissful ignorance, oblivious to the misplaced items and their unsettling reappearances. I started feeling like I was going crazy. Was I imagining things? One night, I woke up to a scratching sound at my door. Sleepily, I fumbled for the lamp, the sudden movement sending the scratching scurrying away. But as my eyes adjusted, I saw a dark figure flit across the room toward Sarah's bed. Panic flooded me, an intruder. I bolted out of bed, grabbing a heavy textbook for defense. Reaching Sarah's door, I slammed it open, ready to confront the intruder. But the room was empty. Confusion turned to chills when I noticed a faint shimmer on Sarah's pillow, the silhouette of my missing perfume bottle, shimmering and distorting before dissolving into nothingness. Suddenly, I knew. Sarah wasn't borrowing my things. She was somehow absorbing them, their essence clinging to her like a spectral second skin. The fear was paralyzing. I couldn't stay there any longer. Packing my things in a panic frenzy, I left a note explaining I was moving out due to unforeseen circumstances. I never looked back. To this day, I don't know what Sarah was, or how she did it. But the chilling memory of the borrowed items, their spectral return, and the blurring figure in the dark still haunts me. Just another terrifying chapter in the long list of bad roommate experiences. Story number 3, The Hoarder of Happiness. My new apartment building boasted a unique perk, a happiness exchange program. Basically, every month, residents anonymously left unwanted items at their doorsteps for others to pick up. Intrigued, I signed up. My first package was a dusty box filled with board games. Seemed harmless enough. My new roommate, Alex, was a walking contradiction. He worked at a high-pressure finance firm, yet radiated sunshine. He was friendly, helpful, and always seemed genuinely happy. He loved the happiness exchange and spent hours scouring the discarded items, returning with a childlike glee. At first, the exchange items were harmless, old movies, mismatched mugs, even a slightly deflated yoga ball. But soon, things got weird. A porcelain doll with vacant eyes arrived on my doorstep. Then a chipped music box that played a melancholic tune on repeat. Alex found these items delightful, displaying them proudly in our living room. The most unsettling find was a worn leather-bound journal filled with depressing poetry about loss and loneliness. As I read it, an inexplicable heaviness settled on me, a feeling that clung to me even after I put it down. When Alex found the journal, his smile faltered for the first time. "Whoa, this is intense," he said, a frown creasing his brow. But instead of discarding it, he placed it on a shelf, next to the porcelain doll. Something about that action disturbed me. Was he collecting these negative items? Worse, was he absorbing their negativity? My suspicions grew when Alex started behaving differently. His usual sunshine faded, replaced by a weariness I hadn't seen before. His laughter seemed strained. One day, he came home from work looking utterly defeated. "They fired me," he mumbled, collapsing onto the couch. The vibrant, happy Alex was gone, replaced by a hollow shell. Panic welled up within me. Was it the negativity from the discarded items? Was the happiness exchange a dark curse in disguise? I grabbed the journal and the chipped music box, the embodiment of all the unwanted sadness. "We need to get rid of these," I exclaimed. Alex looked up, a flicker of his old spark returning. He nodded slowly, and together, we walked to the dumpster, throwing in the cursed items with a sense of finality. The next morning, Alex woke up with a genuine smile. The darkness had lifted. We continued with the happiness exchange, but with a newfound caution, discarding anything that felt negative. The exchange became a way to spread genuine happiness, not collect unwanted burdens. Looking back, I realize Alex wasn't a malicious hoarder of negativity. He was simply a victim of a misunderstood system. The experience was a chilling reminder that happiness, just like sadness, can be contagious. The most valuable thing we collect in life isn't objects, but the positive emotions we share with those around us.